This episode is brought to you by Love Hurts. Kiwi Kwan has had quite a career, from childhood roles in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and The Goonies to a recent Academy Award win for Everything Everywhere All at Once. But now Ki finally stars as a leading man in the film Love Hurts. Love Hurts is the perfect date night movie with its mix of over-the-top action, comedy, and a ton of heart. Love Hurts, only at theaters February 7th.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Pointless Exercise podcast. It's time to remember this crap with Mike Donahue. Mike, how are you?
Doing good, Andy. In a mood to remember whatever we've got on tap. So otherwise, well, thank you.
We follow a franchise with a never-ending supply of crap. We will always be able to remember it. So one thing I wanted to talk about was, we're recording this on Thursday night. Friday is the unveiling of the Fergie Jenkins statue and the return of the statues of Ernie Banks, Billy Williams, and Ron Santo, which had been in cold storage in Michigan. I don't know why they had to tell us what. I didn't think they stored it in a sauna. Does that just mean you put it in a shed that isn't heated? Isn't that what cold storage is?
I am curious about the Michigan part, though. Was there not enough storage space in
I'm
Chicago?
sure Crane knew a guy, and they sent it up there. And so they have created now, in Gallagher Way, Statue Row. Not to be confused with Statutory Row, which is when you have to stay at least 500 yards from elementary school. So the statues are back. And we've seen a sneak preview of the Fergie statue. There's actually a really good video on Twitter.
Is that right?
Yes, with the sculptor who apparently has done all of these. He made it sound like he even did Harry.
Okay, was Harry the first one?
Yeah, Harry was the first one. And Harry's the only one that didn't move. Harry is still looming outside the bleachers.
It says a lot about the status of the team at the time. That would have been shortly after he died. So 1998-99. This is Tribune ownership, still sort of in the thick of mediocrity design. And of course, that they would finally, after all their years, celebrate someone with a 2-ton or whatever, how much it weighs statue, and it would be a broadcaster, not a player. But I also enjoy the fact that, and we've talked about it, just the sheer anguish of the so-called fans from which Harry is emanating. It's a very sort of a gothic,
it's creepy,
almost terrifying
statue.
But that was the first one, and it's still now that one's been moved around because right. It was at first at is it by outside the bleachers now, but it was originally at Addison in Sheffield.
First,
I believe.
it was in Stanton Cook's office. And then when he retired, they said, we probably should put this somewhere more public.
Yeah, I think Stanton was probably not dead.
I'm sure it was gone. It just seemed like a funny name to drop.
Yeah, for sure.
It was probably
Crane. If anyone,
I'm sure it was Crane. Crane used it as an ashtray for a while.
Was that Cockroach back with Tribune back in '98? I'm sure he was, right? Something tells me that guy's wormed his way into the fabric.
I feel like when I was reviewing, remember the video they did, the congratulatory video to themselves they did last year after they
where they almost
broke
their arms, patting themselves in the back.
Crane at one point talked about just how nobody basically said something like nobody knew what terrible condition Wrigley was in And I'm like, I believe what I wrote, because I looked it up, was you had worked for the fucking tribute company for 15 years. You didn't know what shape your stadium was in? So I believe he's been there a very long time. He weaseled his way up from middle management to upper management to whatever.
Right. He's sort of an ancestral brother of Ted Phillips. So,
But yeah, the Fergie, the player statues are all really good. I don't know. I really love, for some reason, I really like the Santo statue. I just think it's really, I don't know, it's something about it. I like that it's different. He's throwing. It's just a nice statue.
Right.
I think I don't know why they didn't put one of his pizzas in it. I think that would have been a nice touch. The hairpiece looks good under the hat.
Right. As opposed to laying on the ground next to him as if it had fallen off.
And so the preview that we get to see of the Fergie one, it's very good. So whoever this guy is, and the guy tells a story about how his dad's favorite player was Fergie Jenkins, and his dad died, and then just days after, the Cubs called and asked the guy if he would. They commissioned a statue of Fergie.
But this is the same guy that had done the earlier statues, right?
He sure made it sound like he's done them all.
Okay. So if that's true and Fergie was his dad's favorite player, then it seems to be building towards this. So that's a nice little narrative.
So
his opus.
Our good friend Mark Gonzalez took a picture I think yesterday while they were setting up the statues, and the Fergie one has a tarp over it, and hopefully they remembered to put the statue under the tarp. That'd be great if they unveiled it on Friday. Oh, I forgot the statue. Whoops. Remember they didn't have an apostrophe on the Ernie statue. It's the Let's
Correct.
Play 2.
It was Let's Play 2.
Paul Sullivan had to point it out to him that they needed to add one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in the picture that he showed, the statues are out. They're up on those big, I don't know what the official word for them, maybe it's pedestals, but they're up on pedestals. There are 2 more pedestals than there are statues. One on each end.
Including Fergie. So Fergie's being unveiled tomorrow.
So 6 in place, and there's only 4 statues.
6 in a row. Okay. And are they bookending? Are they on either end?
They're on either end.
Okay.
And so I think we should take a few minutes here and figure out who should be the next 2 statues.
Oh, well, I think we could stop the conversation right now. Steve Dillard on one end and Chico Walker on the other.
Well, you're right. Okay, well, let's spin the wheel.
There's only 2. All right. That's probably it for my contribution. Okay. Well, that is interesting. Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that, by the way. So I'm processing this right now.
I believe there is ample room for many more down the line, but they seem to.
Yeah.
Now, if you're the Cubs, the dumbest thing you could do tomorrow would be to announce who the next statue is. Because then you're basically telling Fergie, hey, that was cool. Today's your big day. By the way, Rhino's getting the next statue. Everybody go interview Rhino.
Yeah, and Rhino is the first. I think that's an obvious. I think it comes down to one because I don't know how Rhino's not one of the 2.
Well, to me, it's weird. They have.
Maybe there'll be more. They don't have to announce it right away, but.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll do them one at a time.
And I assume they have the space. I have not, for the record, seen the layout. I know I saw some overhead shot. I think it was your tweet that commented that it looked like a burial plot.
That was off the Jesse Rogers one, and he said, "Hey, they're all back." And I said, "Oh, good, is it their tombs?"
Yeah, that tracks. So I don't know how it's set up. So, but I think if the fact is that they have 2 ready to go. They've got 2 in mind, so and I think it's safe. I don't want to assume Sandberg's one of them, but I think Fergie
should complete the set of glorifying the 1969 Cubs.
Yeah, unless someone comes around with some Paul Popovich benefactor.
No, I'm not going to do one for Bill Hands.
Right, he won 20 games in '69.
It's endless. It's we could do all kinds.
Yeah, there could be. Yeah, we could keep going on. Randy Hundley's still alive. You might get him to kick in.
They could have done the. They could redo the Santa one so that it's screaming at Don Young.
There's just a portrait of Young cowering as part of it.
To me, it's weird though that the Ricketts family has this fascination, and I get it. You needed they were able to honor all those guys. God willing, Fergie wakes up tomorrow. All of them got their statues while they were alive, which is no
Santo too, right?
No, Santo didn't, right? He was.
Well, he got
his was posthumous. He got his. He got his
they
number retired.
They retired his number on his
Hall of Fame.
Right. Thank God they won the division the day before, because
so they didn't even accomplish that. But I get the motivation. Hey, the '84 Cubs or the '69 Cubs aren't getting any younger. We better hurry up and get their statues, and then we'll worry about everybody else later. But they seem to really be taking their sweet ass time with this stuff. So it has seemed really weird that Sandberg has not been honored with one of these already. He's been retired for.
But like you said, they're sort of like doing this in a sequence to like keep like the Boomers happy, and then like and take care of these Cubs themselves while they're alive, right? So that's my take.
Yeah, but I don't know why. I mean,
they can't rush it. They can't shorten the timeline. Like, why is this been
how many years
on?
have to pass between each statue? That's the part. Right, I get the order's fine.
Fergie should have been up. Fergie should have been up years ago. Sandberg should have been up years ago.
I have no argument.
In fairness to them, they did have to remodel that whole plaza, blah, blah, blah. But they still could have drawn it up and just get ready to fire it off. That plaza's been complete for over a year now.
Yeah, they could have
not two
stacked them on top of each other, or
Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's out of the way.
So I have no problem with the four players who have statues. They all deserve them. That's fine. I have no bones about them. But yeah, I think it seems pretty clear that the next guy should be Sandberg. And they just should announce it tomorrow. They could let Fergie have his day.
Right,
and then
but they will. But they might because
they're the Cubs. They're morons.
Dipshits.
They'll step all over Fergie and then get everybody thinking about Sandberg instead.
And then also spark off a debate on the last one, which would also overshadow Fergie.
Yes. That's going to do that anyway. Why they had to put those in at the time, I don't know. But it's already got dopes like us talking about who's going to be next. Sure. And I kind of wonder what the Sandberg one should look like. In my mind, if you let me give me a pile of clay and you had me do a statue of Ryne.
Put the mustache on him.
It would be that, he had that kind of trademark, like the little dainty hop he did as he was turning a double play to net. And he never really got wiped out ever. I mean, he was really good around the bag. Yep. And I see that I see that in my mind basically. And with the little
up in the air. That's
and you got to put the little flip up shades on him where they're still up. Because he wore those all the time, and that could signify that we were for too many years of his career we were too cheap to put lights in. Nice ode to that.
Well, Lee Smith is firing the ball at 101 miles an hour. So yeah.
So I could picture the Sandberg one, and so then So who do we think who should be number 6? Like we have the first 5. Right. Who gets to be the 6th one? And so do you think they apparently have decided that they made an exception for Sano, but then and for Bruce Kim, but then in
the end
it worked out because he made it into the Hall of Fame after they retired.
Eventually. Right. Correct.
They weren't going to retire anybody's number until they made the Hall of Fame.
That was their own dumb rule, but
which is stupid.
Which is I guess it makes it's. I don't know.
No, you're letting other people dictate who is eligible for you to retire the number.
True, and we all know how much national members of the media enjoyed kicking Sando in the proverbial balls. Yeah. So you'd think you would absolutely go the other way to advocate for him.
So I wonder if they're doing the same thing with the statues, because they're all in.
Okay, well that would just if that's the case, then it's a no-brainer, right? Sandberg and Dawson, or is it?
Right. Or you have
Suter.
I wouldn't do a Bruce Suter.
No, that's dumb. Maddox, that's all right.
The other argument would be Greggy, and with Greggy, too much of the dominant part of his career wasn't as a Cub. Now you can if you want to make a case for him, and I can, because I love the guy. He got his first win for the Cubs. He got his first strikeout with the Cubs. He won his first Cy Young with the Cubs. He got his 300th win with the Cubs. He got his 3,000th. He pitched in a play. Yes. He gave up a grand slam to Will Clark in a playoff game. He checks all the boxes.
Yes.
He won
of all the pre-World Series Cubs. He checks all the boxes.
He won the first I don't even know how many gold gloves he won with the Cubs. 4.
And even if you throw out the Atlanta, it's kind of incredible of how long the longevity that Maddox had. Because even if he had probably close to 100 wins with the Cubs, which would probably put him in the top 10 of guys in our lifetime, I'm guessing.
I mean, he wasn't with the Cubs long, but I don't know if you know this. He's 3rd on the Bears' all-time receiving yardage.
palling around with Johnny Morris.
Now, some Bear blogger, not the one that I got in the fight with about Lamar Hoyt this week, but a different one.
He's a Bear blogger? Okay.
He's a writes for Cub and Bear Insider. They're both, essential reading for everyone.
I think he was hanging out with Lamar.
Some Bear blogger thought that the two, they should do Butkus and Sayers in honor of all the years that the Bears played at Wrigley. And I was like, buddy, the Bears can do their own fucking statues.
Yeah.
They're going to build a shrine to themselves in Arlington Heights. It should be all statues. The Cubs, as cheap as I think the Ricketts are, I do not blame them. They don't do bear statues.
I do like that thought, though, because, let's be honest, up until, even still to this day, even after 2016, as far as the Bears have been the far more successful franchise playing ball in that stadium than the Cubs have been. They've won more championships, not just in seasons in which they called that place their home, but they actually won championship games there, which they never did in Wrigley, or wouldn't even have done before 2016. But yeah, so
for the sixth statue, what pose should Ryan Dempster be in?
Well, that's the thing. I can just picture Crane Kennedy, the only man in Cubs history to record 50 wins and 50 saves. It's drawing down as you see number 46.
Low. It's embarrassing.
Yes. Yeah. You would know it's him too, because it would be like 8 feet higher, because it's actually him on a unicycle, just like fulfilling his motif as an absolute fucking clown.
I still expect someday I'm going to go to Wrigley and wander by the Harry statue, and they're going to have removed Harry's head and put Dempster's with the oversized glasses and the fright wig on.
Right. You might as well, since you keep shitting on Harry's legacy every time you let that fool do his third-rate Will Ferrell third-rate impression. So yeah. Crane's gonna have to settle for the Cubs Wall of Fame, for putting his buddy on the Cubs Wall of Fame, which I'm bitterly resigned to. But
how would you feel about a Rick Sutcliffe statue at Wrigley Field?
I mean, you know me. Whenever the wheel falls on 1984, I mean, Rick Sutcliffe brought so much pride and joy to this 12-year-old's heart. Absolutely loved the Red Baron, and he was there much beyond. But no fucking way does he. I mean, I think comparatively,
it would be a cool statue though, because he'd have to have him with the ball curling the ball behind his back,
like in the mid windup. You mean?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, I would. That he actually moves up the chart based on the like how awesome his statue would be. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. The aesthetics of the statue have to be part of it. I would be for a Rick Sutcliffe statue. I couldn't make him number 6. He's got to be farther down. That statue has to come. Yeah.
Right. But like you said though, the type of statue might make it more interesting. Okay.
He should be in the art. Do we have any idea when they're going to induct the next class into the Cubs Hall of Fame?
Well, I'd like to re-listen to our cast, because we exhaustively covered the ones they did induct, and kind of were able to narrow down who the next likely candidates are, and a lot of the 84 Cubs I think would be on it.
Like he should be. So I guess first
we actually thought Lee Ramirez, like the recent ones to keep the kids happy. I think they might start with like the recent bunch that aren't in, and then quickly or do them both at the same time. But yeah, Sutcliffe will get his day.
Yeah, I think he's got to get in the Cub. He's got to get in the Cub Hall of Fame before he can get a statue.
And he will soon. Now that's much more. I mean, the statues, it's a little bit more exclusive.
So now, if you look at how they place the statues, you could put Sandberg on one end, and they're on opposite ends. You could.
Can you tell me how they're placed? Okay.
And you get him in mid hop over the bag, and then you could have his old buddy Mark Grace at first on the opposite end, getting ready to receive the throw.
Another guy, I loved Grace, great player, Hall of very good. Have to wait in line, but you're absolutely right. You could have Banks at short, Sandberg at second, Sano at third. You got an infield. They'll have
to reorder them so that they're all in position, because they're not. They're just in the line.
Right, that's fine. Tom's got the money. Come on,
and I think it goes. I think it goes Fergie, Ernie, Billy, Ron. I think that's the order they have the 4 of them in.
Okay, so that's kind of random. So I don't know how many clues. Yeah, that gives you.
Well, I think the Cubs wanted to keep the black guys together.
Sure, right. the Ricketts
we could keep an eye on them if we put the three of them all together.
The Ricketts are very much behind, a lot of legislation to like set back a lot of civil rights in action for the last 50 years. And they're just sort of laying the groundwork maybe to, line that up with what the reality they hope to see.
So now the guy who should, if you're just going to go on performance and accolades, I mean, number 6 is it's Samuel Peralta Sosa. He should be the 6th statue.
Well, I'm sorry. When you said number 6, I thought you took a curveball and Glenn Allen Hill. I'm like, yeah, if you hit a ball onto the roof across the street, you need to have a statue.
Well, I mean, I think Grace gets in because I don't know. Only one guy had the most hits in the.
Yes, in the 90s, it didn't make the Hall of Fame besides Pete Rose.
So I think
I know that we were leading to this. I was wondering when we were going to discuss the elephant in the room. And I think we kind of did when we talked the Hall of Fame speech, but I'm happy to discuss it again because neither of us have extreme opinions on Sammy because I think we're both honest about it. He was not perfect. He was a little bit of a phony. He wasn't quite the great, a great teammate, a great all-around player, but holy mother Christ, for that 5-year period, if you were watching the Cubs, you call yourself a fan of baseball. If you didn't enjoy what the hell he was doing, then I'm assuming you didn't have a pulse during those years.
Roided up or not. And
exactly.
He was roided up. He had 600 home runs. And the pitchers were on steroids too. So I think he gets now. I could make the case that that's fine if they're going to keep the steroid guys out of the Hall of Fame, although they've already fucked it up because they're already trickling in. I mean, Piazza, we know, and
fucking A-Rod's gonna hear that.
But if they're going to keep him out for that, that's fine. That's a different thing than a team honoring its greatest players.
Which is where again the Cubs are unique here. This is like I don't know. Right, because even the guys that have been blackballed, like Bonds has been welcomed back to San Fran. McGuire's been welcomed McGuire's not a Hall of Famer in my opinion anyway. But
they still have fucking Big Mac land.
Yeah. So, and then like with the Cubs, it's like fucking tumbleweeds.
Yeah, and a guy who he didn't do a fucking thing to any of them. They weren't around. And then they won't tell you what. Oh, he knows what he did. Like, no, nobody knows what he did.
They're putting themselves in this position of being these weird, objective moral arbiters, and I don't know when that's ever a good look.
I mean, now that Pete is term limited out of the governorship in Nebraska, he's going to have to start passing harsh judgment on minorities in some other way, and he can just
once again, the stars are aligning for the old Ricketts.
But I mean, that's we talked about it. We've talked about it before. We talked about it during the Hall of Fame discussion, the Cub Hall of Fame discussion. They created this ridiculous Sammy thing out of whole cloth. It didn't have to happen. All they had to do was the bare minimum. I mean, it literally was every couple of years, not even every few years, have him come back, sing the stretch, wave at everybody, and you're done. That's all you have to do with Sammy.
Do you think he's dying to spend much time here? No, he'd like to get recognized every now and then and go back off on his job.
He wants to come back once.
You don't have to give him a job. You don't have to this isn't like, Randy Brown coming back with the Bulls. Like you actually have to help him out. Like he's fine, but he just needs a little bit of acknowledgement, and like for what he fucking did. And I don't blame him as much as I, would raise my eyebrows at some of the things he would say or whatever. Like Jesus Christ, how you're absolutely right. They've gone out of their way to step on their own dick.
Yeah, they've made it so weird, and I don't know. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the weirdness is the point.
Okay, but now, are they that lacking in self-awareness to know that now by putting up the two pedestals, it's going to come back again? They can't be oblivious to every time when they did the Wall of Fame. It was like, are they? So I'm like, so how would it look? Like, let's assume that yes, Sammy finally, long overdue, is going to be the other side. How do they even roll that out and like be
they can't. They painted themselves into a corner that they can't get out of. The only way they could do it, they would have to start like right now, and like and have him like throw out a first pitch, and then wait I don't know a year, and then bring him back or invite him to a Cub convention, and then get that kind of weird stuff behind them, and then they could do it. But they can't just all of a sudden have him back and go, all right, here's your fucking statue.
And it's not going to be as easy.
Back to the Dominican forever.
Like Sammy's got pride too, and he's got a little bit of currency. Yeah. So it's not like he knows a lot of. There's a huge segment of fan base that love him. So it's not like he's just going to come running back when you say it's okay. He might be like, hey, well, hold on, fuckers. Like, what's in it for me? And so it's not so simple as them. They don't even hold the cards anymore. No. And it's not like anyone's really, Sammy's always been a little weird, and he's weirder now, and he looks like Michael Jackson and all that shit. But I don't think it's hard for him to, if he wanted to if push came to shove, to have his own advocates, because it's not that hard to begin with, just objectively. So you're kind of convinced it's not going to be Sammy at this point.
Oh, I can't imagine as long as the Ricketts own the Cubs, and let's hope it's not for very long, but it'll be forever. I don't think it'll happen.
I know. Okay. All right. So let's assume that they stick to their stupid ass guns. That does open up the debate. We've already ruled out Grace, I think. I mean, if it's not Sosa, then who is it after Sandberg?
I mean, I guess it would.
Dawson, right?
Yeah, it would be
because
Andre
he's
Dawson.
a Hall of Famer. Yeah. Okay. Why not Gabby Hartnett? Huh?
Right.
He played in World Series. I'm not dissing Dawson. Of course, we loved him, but part of it, obviously.
What about Hack Wilson? He had 191 RBIs. What about Andy Pafko?
Yeah.
The boy from Boysville.
Not a Hall of Famer, though.
No, that's right. But he's from Boysville.
He is from Boysville. Spent years at the Mount Prospect golf
course. How about Mordecai Brown? You could have a creek that scare the kids with the 3 fingers. That's right. Actually, how about the statue?
Harry statue?
How about for the statue? It's an interactive statue where you see his hand going into the thresher.
Yeah, right. Or coming out, and it's
That's
warning.
why you leave a note.
So they're actually fulfilling a public service, kids.
Right. It's basically like they could probably partner with the Museum of Science and Industry.
make it swing down. An interactive exhibit.
See, we have all kinds of great ideas for them.
No, I think it's safe to assume that the whole idea of honoring like true championship level Hall of Fame playing Cubs from the black and white era is pretty much not going to be their thing in a big budget way. It's pretty obvious. It's the guys that we've mentioned. I don't know if we've missed anybody. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think DraftKings would set it at? Probably. I mean, Sammy's the wild card because a lot of people. I'm not convinced. You're pretty convinced the Ricketts are not going to suddenly not only come around, but do it in a way that fucking saves at least a little bit of face.
I gave up trying to follow their line of thinking a long time ago.
Well, me too, but Jesus.
But I can't see it. I don't see any indication that they're going to make that leap all of a sudden. If we start to see the thawing of the relationship, then they should be setting up for that. But I can't imagine.
And we're sure that they're not behind the scenes because they have no savvy.
No, they're not savvy enough to do that.
Well,
they would have to take credit. They couldn't help take credit for it if they were doing it.
Yeah, they can't be magnanimous.
Crane would just accidentally mention it on Mully and some morning. Well, I was telling Sammy Sosa. Oh, sorry, I didn't. Did I say that out
loud? Oh, let's yell at 8 a.m. Our listeners love that. Sorry.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's anybody. You're probably not doing a Manny Trio statue, although Jared Morales.
You did mention Keith Moreland. I'm a big fan. I've talked about it before. Jody, a big fan. Of course, Leon Bull Durham.
If you wanted to just do cool statues, like one of Gary Matthews, misplaying a fly ball and having his hat fly off. That would be pretty good. Or around his helmet. His helmet kind of bouncing behind him as he runs to second base on a double. That would be cool.
I'd be down with that.
Lee Smith squinting at the signs and not being able to see them.
For some deathly afraid batter that was looking.
Actually,
at him.
The Lee Smith one should be with the ball bouncing off his ass from Pete Rose.
In which Pete Rose of the Expos, in which Dave Owen plucked out of the air for a game-ending double play. How about Cal Daniels crumpled up in a pile 3 feet from home plate? How about a statue of that?
Kalvosky, we're going to finally put your statue up. Oh, great.
That's right. Why would the Reds give me a statue? No, not even the Reds. It's the Cubs.
Yeah, so the Reds they're putting a statue out in front of Wrigley for me? No. Remember the time you fell down? Yeah. That's what we're going to celebrate.
I'm just sad I couldn't work in a joke when we talked about the fact that you have Sano at third, Banks at short, Sandberg at second, and theoretically Grace at first. That you have an all-statue infield that doesn't involve Fred McGriff and Joe Strain and Jeff Blauser. Bo is the one. Oh, Larry Boa.
They should put, like, when they put the Sandberg one up, they should put like a little, like a bobblehead size
Statuette.
Larry Boa, like right next to him. Yeah.
That'd be like a total victory for Dallas Green too. Yep.
So how long do you think that they will wait to cash in on the 2016 Cubs? Because some of those guys are retired. And I would think at some point, right? I mean, like of those Cubs, like John Lester, no one is going to argue if they choose to put a John Lester statue up.
It's a whole different ballgame. You're right. Absolutely. Who knows what that's going to look like? Oh, actually, we have some clue. We've seen how not a single member of the 85 Bears, probably including Reggie Phillips, has probably not had to pick up a check in town since the second Reagan administration. And of course, the Bulls of various teams in the 90s can, they come and go and they enjoy quite the life, and they're all over the place. So, and that's cool. Welcome to it. So, the Hawks would come back. Yeah, but the Cubs for sure. They're the mother of all sort of championships. So as far as how they're officially honored by the team, I mean, honestly, what they did, I guess, first of all, how many of them are Hall of Famers, right? Right now, Lester maybe, right? I think Lester's probably Hall of Famer, even though he's barely got 200 wins because wins sort of became less of a factor.
He's one of his numbers bear out. He's one of the greatest
for 7
of all time.
And he was a league a dominant pitcher for like 7, 8, and close to 10 years. I mean, if you dominate your league for close to a decade, you're definitely in the conversation. But things have gone south for Bryant. He looked for sure like a Hall of Famer. Baez would have to do a lot more work. Rizzo's not going to be a Hall of Famer. He's in the grace category. That's
I'm sure David Ross will make it as a manager.
True, right?
Joe.
And he'll his statue. You know what, Joe's the guy. Joe will be a Hall of Fame manager.
Joe could quit today, and he's a Hall of Fame manager. You take the Rays to the World Series and win one with the Cubs, and you pretty much won.
I know.
Are they
going to have
a Theo statue? Are they going to have a Theo statue? They could have a water feature where he's actually walking on water under his statue.
No, they're never going to do that because ultimately, as much as he bailed them out, Theo's a liberal. He's like, he's not from Nebraska. If you catch my drift. Not from around here. I don't know. Theo, I love Theo.
You shouldn't put up a statue for an executive. It's just.
Oh yeah, Crane's angling for that one.
Oh yeah, you'd have to put. How I was also president at the time. Or do I get to be in it too? Yeah, okay. Of course you do.
Yeah. If you do Theo, then that opens up the door for Dallas Green. I'd be okay with that. But
I can't. I would think the Cubs will never put a Joe Madden statue up. They couldn't wait to get rid of him. They couldn't wait for him to leave.
He will be a Hall of Famer. I know it's a different sport, but if Bill Cowher can be in the fucking Hall of Fame for winning one goddamn Super Bowl, Joe Madden should definitely be in the Baseball Hall of Fame for winning the first one with the Cubs in over a century. And like you said, he took the Rays in there, and he'll probably do something with California now that he's right at that. But you're probably right. They're petty, and they're not going to give him the satisfaction and hope that he just gets old and dies before they do, and then it won't be an issue.
It's just such a weird family that we have to put up with.
And yet they're not as weird as the team that owns the Bears. They're more evil because the McCaskies are not evil at all. But the Ricketts are weird and evil. The McCaskies are just weird and weird. So I'm not sure what other adjectives to ascribe to them.
Yeah, so I don't know what other. I mean, at some point though, I would think there will be some sort of Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo statue
for celebrating the last out. Absolutely, and that's
like maybe even. I think there's a bobblehead right that kind of reenacts it. Bryant's on his knees, and although the Bryant statue would be cooler if they would do the finish of his swing instead of him falling down after he fielded a ground ball.
Finish of his throw, yeah.
The Rizzo one can be the arms above his head. Yes. He catches the last out.
Well, it's actually good timing. You could in that case position them a little bit from a distance and have Bryant releasing the throw and Rizzo's.
Well, it's set up right now. If they say, you know what, Ryno, we're not giving you a statue, and we're just reserving these because the way they're placed right now, you could do that. You can put Bryant on the one end and Rizzo on the other, and you're all set.
Yeah.
But I think they made Fergie wait 50 years for his or whatever, 40, I guess.
I know. I know.
It's going to be a while, I think.
But yeah, they do space it out. It'll be interesting to see how they manage to bungle this.
So the White Sox famously retired Harold Baines' number while he was playing.
Correct.
Has anybody put up a statue of a player while he was still playing? I bet somebody has.
Boy, that's a good one. I'd like to know. Yeah, that's a long way to go.
I wonder when the Mariners put Griffey's up. I wonder if he's actually in. If he came back.
That'd be a close one. Jim Palmer was the closest to ever being a Hall of Famer that pitched because he tried to make a comeback. He got lit up.
Do you think he called it quits because he was worried that he would? He famously never gave up a grand slam.
No, we talked about that before, though. I didn't know that.
You told me that. Grand slam. I'm not coming back.
Yeah, that could be. But yeah.
Yes, I don't know. I don't. I think it's weird to me that they put two of those things up because the Sandberg one has been just kind of a given forever.
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I think it's Sandberg. I'm going to follow your line of thinking that they're not going to turn things around with Sammy. It's going to be Sandberg and Dawson, and they'll also do it together to save on the expense of two separate ceremonies because they were teammates and they can live off of that.
We only have to buy one sheet cake.
So, you know how they like to do it.
Yeah. They could probably get the hair plug place to sponsor Ryne's, and then that'd be fine. And Dawson, they probably. I don't know. I got a bunch of burials this week. I don't know if I can make it.
It would definitely be a bad look if they did Sandberg and Grace over Dawson because Dawson is the Hall of Famer. But like you said, that shouldn't fucking matter because Sano.
So now, do you think right now the statues honor the collective body of work of the player? The players get it. For the four that are in had Hall of Fame long careers as Cubs.
Legitimately, absolutely.
Do you think they would get to the point where they would instead do them for, say, moments? Because our friend Virgil Patrick Hughes, I'm sure, would nominate a cherubic Kerry Wood statue of him during his 20 strikeout game.
Well, I like that, of course. That Pat's been dining off that for a long time.
He just loves to talk about it. It's just amazing. He lights up when he gets a chance to talk about it.
I know. Even if it's like
Pat,
3 days.
You were there when they won the World Series.
Right. I know. It's almost like he's celebrating Kerry Wood 20 strikeout eve. Like the days leading up to it, and even the days after, in case you missed it. But it's funny, because I know where you're going with that. I didn't know where you're going with that when you asked it, but like when you described the Brian Turizzo, that is obviously one moment that would be perfect to capture in a statue. But yeah, the Kerry Wood,
because
sure.
They would. The reason I mention it is somewhere they're trying to think of a reason to do one. Because I think they would
honor Kerry Wood.
Yeah, and then they think about all the memorabilia they could sell too. They could sell little replicas
Kerry
of
is
the
not.
And dumb dopes like us would all buy it.
Kerry is not worthy of a statue. He'd be behind Grace on that front. I love Kerry Wood, but sometimes I think the admiration for him gets a little overblown every now and then, and it's not his fault. He was hurt a lot. And
are you like me? Are you on pins and needles waiting to see when they finally? It's been delayed twice now, but when they finally unveil the Obvious Shirts Mark Pryor collection,
I don't even know what that would entail.
It's like, look, I love Mark Pryor. I was crushed,
and I feel bad for him. He's a tragic. He's a tragic figure.
But I don't know. I can't quite figure out 20 years later what the fuck you're going to put on a T-shirt that I'm going to want to buy. Of course, they put lots of stuff on Obvious Shirts that I don't know why anybody ever buys them, but still.
So is this a thing?
Yeah. Oh, they tried.
They're teasing it.
Yes, they were apparently going to announce it like on opening day, and then they delayed it, and then they were going to announce it when the Dodgers were in town. And instead, there's a picture of the Obvious Shirts guy and Mark, kind of stand next to each other, and it said it's delayed for like a month.
Yeah,
I don't get it. I don't get.
We won the World Series 6 years ago. Let's bank on the most heart crushing moment of like the previous 60 seasons.
Is it a shirt like they do of all the Obvious Shirts? The only one that I've ever been tempted to buy is they have a new one now, a relatively new one that has the clock. It's a green shirt.
Yes,
it has a score.
we agreed.
It's a very nice.
That's a good idea.
I kicked myself that I didn't think of making that because it's so I know it's iconic, but it's also so generic that the Cubs could not sue me if I had made that shirt. So are they going to have one with Mark Pryor's an MRI on it? Is that what we're going to?
Right. Or I ran into Marcus Giles and ended my career, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt.
Or Brad Hopp
broke
my
line
arm
drive.
Line drive.
Did have a few weird things that happened. Yeah, he was kind of cursed. Cubs weren't ready to fumigate all that, I guess.
So on the Cubs were on YouTube TV yesterday.
I know.
And one of the nice features of it, though, was it was free. All you had to have was YouTube. If you had YouTube, you could watch the Cub game.
Go ahead.
One of the nice features was you could switch the audio to either the Cub radio broadcast or the Pirates radio broadcast. And but it was weird because YouTube was a little slow on the up. They did a nice job. The audio was perfectly synced when they remembered to switch it back, because they would switch it from Pat and Ron back to the regular one for the commercials. So you guys hear the commercials. Although, as Frank pointed out, they barely sold any commercials. We sat there watching the game will resume graphic for the last minute of every commercial break. It's God, call the Prevagen people. They got cash. They'll give you money.
Somewhere Eddie Einhorn is spinning in his grave.
So one of the ones they were slow getting back to was the regular announcer team, Scott Braun and Manny Machado's brother-in-law. Is that right? Yonder Alonso. Is that what he was? Remember
who was doing the color?
Sox signed Yonder Alonso because they were going to sign Manny Machado. Yeah.
I was wondering who it was who claimed to have hit his first career home at Wrigley Field. So that's
you heard that part, and he couldn't remember who he hit it off of, and he was trying to describe who it was, and he's Venezuelan guy who was yelled at umpires all the time.
Zambrano, he
couldn't remember that he hit his first career home run off Carlos Zambrano.
He should have his press credential revoked.
But then again, they were talking about they got talking about home runs, and it's another thing where I get very disappointed with these national broadcast and marquee that they don't have somebody savvy enough. If I'm producing that game and Yonder starts talking about first home runs without even introducing it, I just play the Tony Campana inside the park home run because Yonder was in left field and he's the reason it was a home run. He ran into the wall and he fell down and he just made a meal out of it. I would have just played it without any comment and just let Yonder look at it. They didn't. I mean, you're at Wrigley. You'll never have a more perfect setup to ever do it.
Yep.
But I guarantee there's nobody in that truck that knew that happened.
No, it was still better than a marquee production. I will say that.
The picture was nice.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. To check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Komm du noch?
If you've heard that sound from Babbel before, I bet you do. Babbel is the science-backed language learning app that actually works. With quick 10-minute lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts, Babbel gets you on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. With over 16 million subscriptions sold and a 20-day money-back guarantee, just start speaking another language with Babbel. Right now, up to 55% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Spotify podcast. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify podcast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Yeah. So just to share this story, because I thought it was kind of funny, but my dad is 88 years old and he lives in a, senior facility. He's, largely got most of his agency and he can move around. He's physical. He still follows. He can tell you exactly what's going on with the Cubs and enjoying the hell out of the Sox the last few weeks. And he knows where Marquee is on his TV. It's 202 in his cable apartment. So we're good there. But of course, last Friday the Cubs were on Apple TV.
Yeah.
Now my dad does have an iPad, but he's becoming a little bit harder for him to figure out. But he checks his his money accounts and his all of that. He knows how to pull that up. But luckily, my sister was swinging by on like, okay, can you just pull up the Apple TV? Because I know he's not going to be able to pull that game on TV. And she figured it out. And yesterday I was home ready to watch an episode because we're catching up. My wife and I are about to watch Better Call Saul. My phone starts ringing. And it's my dad. And I kind of suspected why he was called. It was like 8 o'clock or 7:30. And even before he finished explaining, I was like, oh, God, I wish I had gone over there and set it up. I'm like, gee, how am I going to talk him over the phone, to get the game on? And it was very easy. But I'm like, he's not going to know how to pull up a Safari browser, type in he's just not. But I managed to coordinate with the girl at the front desk. I told Dad, go downstairs. She'll help you out. I talked with her ahead of time. He got it. But then I'm like living in fear of Dad just, fat thumbing the iPad, right? And he's going to lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't happen. It actually kind of went out of that incident. At one point, he did call me back. I'm like, oh, shit, where it is? And I think the screen just went dark for some reason, but he was able to get back on. So just fun times. Thought I would share it. Obviously, I personally find it awfully convenient. I am not a cable subscriber, as I've talked about, so I live in the dark, don't have marquee. I have to subject myself to 7 innings a week of Zach Zaidman on the radio call. See the games when I can. I don't miss it because they suck, and if they didn't suck, I might, break down and get cable. No incentive right now. But yeah, I enjoyed that. I just pulled up YouTube. It was right there. Yeah. It was like you didn't even have to be logged into a YouTube account.
No, and the Cubs gave this kind of tortured explanation on Twitter of how to find the game. But when you clicked on the YouTube app, I clicked on my Roku, and it was like the very first box for everybody to pick was Live Now, Cubs Pirates. And I just clicked on it, and I'm like, hey, there it is.
I wonder if they must have regionalized it too, right? Like that wouldn't be the first thing or maybe it was if you're like in California.
If I was them, I would. I mean, they paid big bucks for those games. I would shove it in everybody's face.
You're probably
right.
They
could easily do that by your,
But why would they?
Your IP address.
What the hell other original program would they have that might, take a back seat to the Cubs?
Yeah. That's just another example of the MLB cash grab.
I mean, it was a Cubs Pirates game, so no. I'm wondering.
I'm sure they were thrilled to have that matchup. Like, oh, good. Well, I mean, we're what are we now? We're probably 6 weeks away from, I don't even know when it is, from Field of Dreams, Cubs Reds.
Cubs Reds.
Who's the genius who picked that? Even last year, he would have looked at it and went, oh, no, you don't want the Cubs. No.
So now it makes sense when I think about it that like the Ricketts and Crane Kenny are employed by a team that's in this league because there seems to be at least a little bit of a straight line.
I mean, there's a pretty good chance, right, in the Field of Dreams game that David Bodie will get lost in the corn. They won't find him until harvest time. Subsisting on his own urine and whatever little pieces of field corn he could try to crack and chew.
Years later, some child chases a ball into the field, and there's a skeleton with a loose-fitting number 13 Cubs jersey on.
Oh, it's not a ghost. It's fucking David Bodie. He's been out there for 3 years.
Finally fucking found him. I can't believe it.
And the Cubs would be like, if the Cubs were smart, they wouldn't look for him for a couple of years. They'd wait till his contract expired, and then they'd go out and finally fish him out of the field.
Yeah, if they were smart, though, that's doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
How about great moments of Cub history? You could have the David Bodie walk-off grand slam statue.
Pretty incredible.
It was legitimately a pretty cool moment.
It was. And it upstaged a grand slam that Jason Hayward had also hit early in the year off a left-hander, another lead-changing walk-off grand slam.
That wasn't just a left-hander. That was future Cub Adam Morgan.
Oh, God.
You would think that would disqualify you from ever pitching for the Cubs. If you're a lefty who gave up a home run to Jason Hayward, they would just scratch you off the list. Like, not that guy. Nope.
Right. It's actually, as a Cub fan, I kind of resent it because it was one of those things that sort of gave you a little bit of hope that, because that was what, 2018?
How about a statue they could just the Jason Hayward contract?
How about the Jason Hayward speech?
In bronze. Yeah, like a statue of there's like an elliptical machine in the background, and then there's so you can tell you're in a weight room, and that's another one. You hit the button and you can hear the speech.
Right. You could even dramatize it and have him have a scroll like he's reading something near the Battle of Yorktown, or near the Founding Fathers. I don't know. Maybe I'm over my skis on this.
Whatever happened to the David Ross movie?
Wait,
remember they were going to make a movie off of his book Teammates?
How would that be interesting?
The only book that I shouldn't say the only book because he reads lots of books, but the only person I know who read that book was Mike Brott, who read it.
He actually read it.
He could make fun of it. Yeah, he read Teammates.
And did it satisfy his itch?
I don't know. I don't know that he found it funny. I know he.
I may have to reach out to Mike. Did he write
about
it?
It was ripe to mock. Yeah, I thought he did.
Okay.
I know he read it.
I have to circle back. I may have read it.
It got options. Somebody got it. Him and.
I may have read Mike's takedown of it. Okay.
Who did he write? Who wrote Teammates with? Because try not to. Jesse wrote "Try Not to Suck," right? With
Jesse who?
Jesse Rogers was a ghostwriter.
Jesse Rogers has a fucking book.
Well,
credit?
didn't he write the book with Madden?
No, it was Kaplan.
Oh, he wrote the
right. Nah, Kaplan wrote a book that was pretty well written. Not as like Tom Verducci supposedly wrote the one like real contemporary book on the Cubs.
Yeah.
Kaplan wrote one that got a lot of pub. That's not the one you're thinking of, though, is it?
Try Not to Suck: The Exceptional Extraordinary Baseball Life of Joe Madden. Written by he couldn't even write it by himself. Written by Bill Chastain and Jesse Rogers.
Did Jesse get to like color the pictures? Is that what his contribution was?
Yeah, Kaplan's was the plan, right? It was about Theo.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
and of course, I guess Al Yellen wrote the definitive book.
Oh, right. Well, lest we forget,
which was like now I can still die miserable. I think
right.
That was the name of the book.
They should put a statue in the back row of left field.
I feel like there's already one there.
Right. I was going to say, but
just
this one, let's see that bronze it, and then you could walk up there, flip the lid, and take a leak.
They could do the Empire Strikes Back thing and just encase him in carbonite. Oh, he'll be, if he survived the freezing process, he'll be very well preserved.
Right.
They'd have to do two of them, though. One of them there, and one of him. Actually, the statue for Al, even as iconic as his spot is in the bleachers, more iconic is they should have a statue that they roll out at like 2:00 in the afternoon to put first in the bleacher line for a 7:00 start.
It's on a dolly every day.
Got to wheel Al out for a few hours.
Hey, I can't believe I'm being forced to do this.
Because to me, that's more pathetic than him sitting in the exact same seat all the time. Is the
Correct.
fact that to get that seat, he pisses away 4 or 5 hours of
of his life. He's a
He's not
bleacher.
going to do anything with it, but still.
No, I know, but still, in theory, he's a season ticket holder who already get priority seating. I believe maybe that's changed. I have only sat in the bleachers once in the last.
Well, he does, but right, he has to get there early enough to be.
I don't mean priority seating, priority entry. Like season ticket holders. So there's only like what kind of a cluster of small. Like who the hell is going to?
You wouldn't have to worry.
Even if he didn't have priority seating, no one's like running to the back row. They'll run down to the front row. That's what you do.
He picked some of the worst seats in the park, so nobody's going to steal those from him.
So the whole thing is absurd. It's like I almost feel like it's some sort of a public satire, like someone's pulling off some major long con performance art, just trolling all of us.
So if you want to talk about creepy aspects of Wrigley Field that they could have a statue for. I'm kind of surprised they don't already have one of these. That they don't have a statue, and it could be one of those where it's generic to encompass all of these people. But shouldn't they have a ball hawk, like on the sidewalk across the street on Waveland, just there waiting for waiting for a home run to come flying? I don't get those people at all. I even get them less now that they expanded the bleachers and they really can't see anything.
I'm sorry to judge. Right. It's like now, look how crafty we are with our relay signals, and we have less visual information, but somehow we're tapped into like who's hitting. Like, I don't know. Like I hate to punch down. No, I don't.
I mean, I got the thrill of a lifetime when I caught the Tom Verizon batting practice home run, and I know what it's like. I know the rush, the excitement that you get, and you've
never told that story. You told us about a Tim batting practice.
Not Tom Verizon. I'm sorry, Tim Tuffle.
Okay, all right.
I'm looking at it right there. The Tim Tuffle batting practice home run.
Got it.
Once I caught that, I retired. I don't never need to catch a ball again.
I'm still in search of my first live ball, which I do not plan on being shamed into giving to a youngster, and I can just save face by saying I have kids at home, and I do, and they don't give a shit about that. And factually, neither do I. I'm not a memorabilia guy, but I've gone to over 300 games at Wrigley Field and have yet to capture a live ball, fair or foul. And when I do, I will catch it, and then I'm done. I don't care.
Somewhere down here, I have a Midwest League ball signed by then Commissioner George Spelius, who is probably his legacy lives on now, in that his beautiful daughter is married to incompetent Major League Baseball umpire Marty Foster.
Oh my God! Oh yeah, you've hung out with Marty. You've told me you've had cocktails with him. So that's how you know him. Okay.
Yeah, I was at a Snapper game, not the year I was working for them, and a foul ball literally rolled to me in my seat. That's how many fans there were that day. Nobody even went for it. It just kind of rolled, and I reached down and picked it up and said, "All right, I got another one." And then I have a Frontier League ball from the Rockford Rivets that I got while I was jogging around the outside of the stadium, and there was just a ball laying there, so I picked it up. So those are the three. Yeah, so I have
That's it.
The Frontier League ball is a little bigger than the Midwest League and Major League Baseball.
Did you actually break out the tools, the measure, or you just tell? Or?
No, you can just hold them next to each other. It's just a little bit bigger.
So,
apparently those semi-pro, no, not semi-pro. They're just unaffiliated minor leaguers have a slightly bigger baseball to hit.
Okay, interesting. So Marty Foster's father-in-law, what was his name?
George Spelius, the longtime commissioner of the Midwest League.
Does he have a statue outside of the Beloit Stadium? The new Beloit Stadium, right? Didn't you tell me that I
haven't been there yet.
All of your tales
ABC Supply Stadium. It's beautiful. It's in downtown Beloit. Old Pullman Field at Telfer Park. Telfer Park is like the community park, and then Pullman Field was the baseball park that was within. Like
the semi-pro minor league park? You mean Pullman was actually where you worked?
Pullman Field is the baseball stadium within.
Got it.
Within the park, Telfer Park. There's also an ice rink and a.
It's a veritable complex.
There's an ice rink, and there's a what do you call it? There's like a skateboard. One of those.
Oh, a skate park. Yeah. Cool. All right.
Pullman Field was a shithole. Just awful.
Yeah. No, I enjoy your tales about it.
But no, ABC Supply Park looks really nice. Of course, it's built by the richest woman in America.
And that's Marty Foster's wife, or no, somebody else? Who?
No, that's not her. That would be.
She's just the owner of the team.
That would be Diane Hendricks, the widow of the guy who owned Ken Hendricks, the guy who owned ABC Supply, Building Supply. He was a multi-billionaire.
From Wisconsin?
Yes, she gave them the land because they already owned it, and she gave them a bunch of money to build the stadium because they were going to lose the team.
Oh no!
They were going to be part of the when Rob Manfred went whacking.
They pretty much.
But all of a sudden they had this new park online, and they weren't going to whack a team with a brand new park.
Wow, savvy move, and a whole row of statues too, no doubt.
Yes.
Of maybe a 19-year-old Cecil
they
Fielder.
did lose their. They for a long time were the Brewers minor league affiliate.
They're not anymore.
Started in 1982. They were the Brewers. When I was there in 2003, they were still the Brewers. They lost them a few years later, and then. Now here's a little secret. You can always tell what are the least desirable teams in any minor league if the A's or the Marlins are their minor league or their major league affiliate. The Brewers went the then Beloit Snappers, who are now the Sky Carp, which is awful. Went from the Brewers to the A's to the Marlins. They're now the Marlins.
Oh, they're just being, what's the term?
But they have they were like on 1-year deals with the
relegated.
A's.
They're getting relegated out of the whole league, out of baseball.
But now they have a multi-year deal with the Marlins, so they're safe for a while. But with the park, with the brand new park, they're golden for a while. They're not the Midwest League going to kick out a team.
No, right. Well, and even if they have to go independent, right? Like there are a lot of Schaumburg around here has got a minor league team that's independent. There's a team in Garrett. I don't know how they're doing.
Yeah, they'd still have minor league baseball there, but that's
affiliation gives you a little bit of a lifeline, I imagine.
Yeah, and I think there's a big misunderstanding though about what the big league team pays for. They basically pay the players. That's about it.
Okay,
They pay the players and the coaching staff, and you're on the hook for everything else. You better, So it's not. I think a lot of people think, well, think of all those huge checks the Cubs are sending off to Des Moines. Like, I guarantee they're not.
No, I've never thought that actually. I mean, that's the setup is they own the players, so they pay the players, so the minor league operators don't have to worry about the players, but then all the other operation expenses.
Well, and I didn't even understand it. Like, Now in recent years, like this year, Major League Baseball has changed it where they're providing housing for the players. Finally,
yes.
They were some of the snappers were living like 6 guys to a 2-bedroom apartment.
It's pretty squalid.
And they're actually giving them their meal money was nothing. And they were, especially the Midwest League, it was mostly like 20 to 22-year-old guys. They were spending their meal money on
drinking.
Yeah, they were to go out drinking after games. So they were, they weren't eating very well. And then,
right.
So I'm up in the press box, and I can hear the radios between the guys who work there full time, and they're like, "Oh, we got a shitload of hot dogs left." This is like the 8th inning, and like we got a shitload of hot dogs. I guess we can give them to the fucking players.
Wow, that's ours.
And so they took them down and gave them to the players. They said they were always loath to give them to the players because it didn't happen very often where they'd have a surplus, and then the players would just expect them all the time. Like, they'd hassle them for like the next 6 games. We're gonna get hot dogs tonight. It's like, well, I don't know. If we accidentally make too many, then yes.
That's the whole argument that restaurants have for not just feeding the homeless people hanging out of dumpsters. They don't want to create dependency. It seems cruel, but
think about how sad that is. That these assets of these major league organizations were basically being treated like
homeless people,
like the homeless. Look real sad. Maybe the Snappers front office will feed you.
It doesn't work if they're not starving. Yeah, well, I don't know.
All right, well, I think we solved the. Well, no, we talked about who we think the Cubs are going to put statues up. So if Crane called you up tomorrow,
yeah,
and said, "All right, Mike, we got 2 spots for statues.
Right,
who should be next? Who would you tell him?" Get the next.
Well, so who should be next should be Sandberg and Sosa. It's like the ultimate no-brainers. They're not necessarily. They're probably the 2 greatest players that not there. I mean, like compare eras. I've mentioned Hall of Famers from World Series teams like Hartnett and Hack Wilson, and you go further back to Hall of Famers like Frank James. But we're not messing with that because part of the tie-in here is people that saw them play. You can maybe generate some merchandising off of that.
You want to do a Phil Cavarretta?
Not a Phil Cavarretta, even though he's a local guy, Lane Tech grad. But so just like blocking out anything the 69 Cubs, the door's closed, Fergie's in. It's pretty obvious it's going to be somebody contemporary or the 2 guys that are contemporary. So it should be Sandberg and Sosa, but it will be Sandberg and Dawson. I agree with you, although I do think that this fucking family has to be thinking some way to get the egg off their face, to extract themselves from, like you said, the situation that they made worse themselves, and just like get rid of it, like deal with this Sammy situation for all its complications. But after this conversation with you tonight, I'm convinced that is not happening now. It's just there's no way, and so it's Sandberg and Dawson.
All right, so do you want to play conspiracy theorist? So,
yes, I love conspiracy.
We're recording this on Thursday night. The Fergie thing is Friday afternoon, and we know they have the 2 empty podiums, and the Cubs are dumb enough to actually announce, hey, Fergie, this is great.
Upstage Fergie. Next. Yes.
And we've just assumed, as I think we're right, that Ryne Sandberg is going to be one of the 2. Do you know who is doing you don't, because you don't get it. Guess who's doing the postgame tonight for the first time this year on Marquee, which means he's in town and he's going to be there tomorrow.
Is it Hawk?
It's Mark Grace.
Oh, that would be a bad look, by the way. Grace is a white non-Hall of Famer. I mean, I know like Fergie and Billy and Ernie are already up there.
I'm sure he's just there because he's going to the thing. But it's like, oh, well.
Yeah, no. I said it. I'll reiterate it. Like I give Grace his proper place. No rhyme intended. I really enjoyed him. I do think sometimes fans get a little too exuberant over him. They overrate him. I don't think he's underrated in any respects. I think he was a very solid player, fun to watch, one of my favorites.
All right, I'm going to argue. Here's why I think he's underrated amongst current Cub fans. The fact that Bert compared Alfonso Rivas to him.
For fuck's sake. Jeez, I'm going to have to block Bleacher Nation.
He basically said something because when Cub fans got mad, some prospect perverts got mad when he got sent down for a few days.
Rivas did.
And Bert was trying to explain why he thought they were mad. It's basically like, well, he's very similar to a Cub great, that he makes great contact and he's a great glove man. He kept using great. And it's like, all right, Alfonso Rivas is not great at any of that shit, at least not yet.
Well, and he has no body of work. Right.
He's not Mark Grace. And so the old, I knew Mark Grace. Mark Grace was a friend of mine.
Yeah, Mr.
Brett
Rivas.
Taylor. Alfonso Rivas is no Mark Grace.
That's, wow. That's a take.
Yeah.
And, there's no need for that. Like,
no, if they're letting me pick, then obviously I'm putting having Ryne Sandberg. I'm going to sign the new glove that I bought with my new Ryne Sandberg glove.
Sure, you'll be there, front row.
Yep, he'll sign that. Actually, I have a ball that he signed, and at a Cub convention, and his daughter was with him, and she was pretty nice.
From Cindy's daughter, or is one of his stepdaughters from the?
I think it was there. I think it's his his genetic material. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So Ryan gets one, and I would if the Ricketts were foolish enough to let me pick them, they're getting a Sammy Sosa statue.
Yeah, of course.
I think.
But you're right, not happening.
But basically, what I would give them is a list and say, all right, you are bilking Cub fans, especially now. Why don't you take the money you're not spending on payroll? Why don't you catch up on your fucking statues?
Sure.
And we're gonna have Ryne Sandberg. We're gonna have Sammy Sosa. And we're gonna have Mark Grace. And we're gonna have
I'm okay with Grace. Obviously, Grace after Sosa Sandberg. I'm okay with Dawson after Sosa Sandberg. Yeah. Go on.
And then we're gonna have a Rick Sutcliffe statue because I think it'll be cool to see the curl thing behind his back.
Yes, it'd be a great statue that moves him up the charts for sure.
And then we're gonna have a Carlos Zambrano one. I want the Zambrano statue. I want the one where he's not the one where I don't want one where he's throwing the ball from home plate into the bleachers. I want the one where, remember when he got kicked out of the game in Arizona opening day, and he made the glasses with his hands for the
we talked about that.
That's what I want. I want him storming off the mound. Either that, or how about this? A nice combo one. Him punching Michael Barrett. You get Michael Barrett and him. They should install that permanently in the Cub dugout.
A lot of fans love Michael Barrett because he was a dopey white guy, so that might actually kill multiple birds.
Actually, how about this for an interactive exhibit? You get to punch the Michael Barrett statue.
Oh gosh, I might go broke.
There's all kinds of stuff.
I like implementing the Museum of Science and Industry technology into some of these statues.
There's no reason they have to just be a lifeless clump of bronze.
Yeah. Right.
It's 2022, man. Where the kids baseball needs to modernize. Then I'm also putting John Lester on the list, and then I'm going to put Game 7 starter Kyle Hendricks. But I want him where you can't tell if he just gave up 8 runs or he's throwing a shutout. I want the slump shoulder, him just kind of like with his head down walking off the mound.
Yes, that's like Charlie Brown.
Yep, that's what I want.
Noticeably absent from that recent burst of pitchers you mentioned was Jake Arrieta.
Oh yeah. I mean, you got a guy
he's statue worthy because he had a streak that probably inched past Sutcliffe that propelled the Cubs to that level, and then through that wild card game took them to the next level. And remember, Jake then was no longer effective in 2015 and wasn't as good in 2016 as he was in 2015. But when the chips were fucking, and he wasn't that good against the Dodgers in the playoffs, but when the chips or the Giants, even though he hit a homer off,
he had a 3-run homer off Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah, but then he coughed up his own lead. But then when the chips were fucking down on the road, he became the third World Series pitcher in 50 years to win 2 road games. He did it when it counted. So
that
motherfucker.
He has the second half of 2015 is legitimately the best half of baseball that anyone has ever pitched.
And we've talked about that.
They compared it to like the Bob Gibson 1.12 ERA year, and Arrieta's numbers were better. They compared it to everybody.
And as Cubs fans, we compared it to Sutcliffe, and as much love and nostalgia as I have for the 84 Cubs, I would not even pretend to defend Sutcliffe. And as awesome as Sutcliffe was in 84, Arrieta was something we'll never see again.
So Jake, the first Cub pitcher since Ed Rulebach to win 2 World Series. I don't know. I'm just making that up. I don't know who it was. Probably Mordecai Brown.
No. I'm saying he was.
I know. You said he was the first to win 2 road games in a World Series
for anybody, and the first one since '97. The Indians. I don't know if it was.
Chuck
Chad OJ, Chuck Nagy, or Chad OJ, or one of those two guys.
And Chuck
Might have been Jared
Game
Wright.
7. Him and Jose
No,
Mesa.
Jared Wright was the starter. Yeah, and then before '97, it went back to the '60s. Harder to do, obviously, when starters don't go as long. But yeah.
Was it Mickey Lolich?
It might have been.
In 68?
Might have been. Could have been. Lolich could have won 2 games on the road. It was, but that was '68, so that would have been a series in which the National League actually. No, American League had home field. Could have been Lolich, absolutely, because the American League had home field an even number of years, and National League an odd number. But I don't know. Have we not turned over any stones on statue? Anybody we've disrespected? Is there any Paul Noce fans out there that?
Well, I mean, actually, if you give me 2, we're going to have Louis Valbuena and Hank White.
Yeah, of course.
How about the Hank White statue? Him asleep in the clubhouse with his fly open. I mean, I got the picture. I can send it right to the sculptor.
Hand sort of half scratching his head, although he's unconscious. What about Lee Ramirez? I'm not going to say Soriano because he didn't spend enough time. He's more of a Maddox character. But like Lee and Ramirez played on playoff, or Ramirez played. Ramirez played in 3. Lee only played in 2. And of course, Ramirez always kind of failed in the playoffs because, of course, nobody. I
mean, Derek Lee played in that series, just for the Marlins.
Yeah. Let's put a statue up for that. But those are the 2. I guess. How
about a Steve Bartman statue? We still haven't made up enough.
We were both.
We haven't. I know they gave him a ring, and I apologize, but now we need.
Did they give him a ring? They gave him a ring.
They gave him a ring.
It's fine. Let him have a ring. It's fine. Obviously.
I guarantee you, he's like just leave me out.
Exactly.
Of it. Yeah.
I feel bad for him. Once again,
making a big deal of it, I'm like, I guarantee you, he doesn't fucking want this.
I feel bad for him.
Wants it. Here he is thinking, finally, he'll be off my ass. And here's the Cubs.
No,
hey, do you want to come throw out the first pitch? No, I don't want to do that. Go away.
It's boiled down to this. I feel awful for that guy, but I don't excuse him.
No, exactly. I feel bad that he went through what he went through, but I also think, get the fuck out of the way. You've been listening to the game on his headset. He was watching every pitch. Just back up.
And what frustrates me is
I would have been literally like, they're like, would have the ball come to you? I would.
We've talked
at home. I would have shoved the guy. I would have thrown the cat across the room if I thought it would have helped Moises catch the foul ball.
Yeah. No, I mean,
we're all pissing blood waiting for this to end, and he's over there. Oh, I'm gonna try to catch this. Like, no, don't.
But you're right, though. Like, it's like he doesn't want anything to do with it.
No, he just wanted it to he wanted it to end, and winning the World Series basically. I mean, he went from. I mean, he went from not. He wasn't hated anymore. He was a punchline. But now he's not really much of a punchline, except like for every once in a while, some fucking TV network, a foul ball will go down there, and they zoom out.
I know. They can't help
what's in that seat.
But what frustrates me is that should have served as a cautionary tale. Not that that'd be right, because the guy lost his life, basically his livelihood. But it should have served as a cautionary tale, and instead, fans are even more fucking self-centered.
Well,
and idiotic.
honestly, the only thing that saves him now is the net.
Yeah.
It's hard to do it. He still can. You can still fuck up a fly ball because you can lean over and shove the net towards the player and interfere with the ball. But you're not going to – there's never again going to be the thing bouncing off your hands.
Right.
It's not going to get to you.
Yeah. So there's nobody pre-84, right, like that in post-69 other than like Bill Buckner. That'd be statue-worthy. So I think we pretty much run. I mean,
honestly, if PK hadn't shipped Bill Madlock off, he probably would have.
Man. Yeah. Not that
because he'd already won, 2 bank titles?
2. He won 2 at the Cubs and then 2 at the Pirates.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he'd won.
Incredible.
And, I'm sure it was easier to hit at Wrigley than it was in fucking Candlestick. So, and they
the
Pirates, right?
Well, he got traded to the Giants, but then he quickly got flipped. He got flipped to the Pirates during, I think, maybe the 79 season or 78.
So
but
basically right away.
He won his titles with the Pirates. He won with the Cubs, I think, 75, 76. Could be wrong. Around there, and then immediately dealt because, his girlfriends didn't share the same pigmentation as him, and PK Wrigley was not a fan, still in his peak. But then he didn't do much with the team to whom he was traded, but then he resurfaced, won a World Series with with the Pirates. And I think he won both of his batting titles after he won a World Series with the Pirates. In fact, 341 in 1981. Strikes shortened, but still, he had a 907 OPS and 323 in 83. So, 305 career hitter. But 4 batting titles, 2 with the Cubs. And with the Cubs, he batted 354 and 339 in back-to-back years. Oh, let's trade him. I mean, what if that happened today? There'd be so much scrutiny. I mean, PK Wrigley is fucking lucky a trade didn't happen 40 years later.
Well, since there's the 2 spots available, we talked about them last week. What about Ryan Theriot and Mike Fontenot? That'd be nice.
All right, we're done here.
They could fit them both on the same one. They wouldn't need to devote both spots.
Right. It's good use of resources. Yeah. I'd say once we've reached the Cajun connection, we've exhausted it. Right, I think we covered it.
Yep. We'll find out. I fear we'll find out tomorrow. We shouldn't.
Right.
Cubs, there's no rush. You seem to be waiting half a decade between statues. You certainly could wait and give because honestly, you do a disservice to Fergie and to whoever's getting the next statue because you're splitting up the attention. I'm glad we did this tonight instead of spinning the wheel because honestly, I had no real interest in this and didn't really consume any real information. But now having talked about it, I'm very much delighted at the comedic possibilities and how the Ricketts are going to handle this going forward, beginning tomorrow. So I'm actually kind of stoked now. I'm glad we did this. I don't know how public the ceremony thing is tomorrow. I would think it's got to be fairly public, right? It's in Gallagher Way. Will he get booed?
It will be overcast. Who's going to get booed? Tom. The Ricketts?
Yeah.
Rickett should, but they'll probably curate the crowd, I'm sure, to some degree. Tomorrow, 60-degree. Could be rainy, overcast, good. I feel bad for Fergie, but whatever. Fergie's had a great career. I don't know. I mean, I assume there's going to be a whole pageantry going on there at Gallagher Way, right? So,
I guess.
Guess we'll see.
I don't know.
Here we are. Well, well, sorry for not doing another season for anyone listening to the end here. Hoping we would.
They're running out of time.
Yeah, gee, this could be longer than that 2003 podcast.
We started spending an hour talking about statues. Yeah. Okay, now let's spin the wheel. Oh, good. We landed on 2011 again. All right, Mike Quaddy doesn't have eyebrows.
Kill me now. I only have so much in the tank. I'm good.
All right. We'll find out. We'll find out who they're honoring, and then I got to find out when this Cub Hall of Fame because I'm excited. I'd forgot about it since it's in an alley hidden under the bleachers.
Yeah, right, with a bunch of FedEx like plastic those are the plaques.
You got to move the dumpster so people can see the plaques tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, a little bit of logistics to work through. Is that going to be an annual thing? Is that something else we can look forward to? Because we could do another,
I think so. I think they're supposed to have a class every year now. Right. That was the inaugural one last year. Now.
Okay. Wow, they're giving us all kinds of stuff in light of a mediocre,
we'll never run
mediocre season. So there's this tomorrow. No, I know. Thank God. God, if we were only getting paid for this, I'd never go hungry.
All right. Well. I guess we'll find out who the next to be encased in bronze is. I hope so. And then what the fallout is. The only thing that made it exciting was because if it had just been one podium, it wouldn't even been a discussion.
It'd be Sandberg.
Yeah, but there's 2 there. Ooh, all the intrigue.
Yeah, it does.
It'll probably turn out that the company that delivers the stations accidentally dropped 2 off that they weren't supposed to. They're gonna pick them up on Saturday. What are you guys talking about?
Crane, can you put some lipstick on this pig? That would just be the best shit show. I'd be dying to
Or they pick them up during the ceremony. You just hear a forklift and beep, beep, beep.
Right, interrupting the press conference.
We'll just be a minute.
We're here, sir.
Sorry to mess with your party.
We laugh, and yet that would almost be a little bit too on point.
It's probably more likely. That's what DraftKings says. That's 2-1 on the DraftKings board. Is that they'll be removed. They were accidentally delivered.
I'm gonna go pull it up.
All right. Well, we'll get back to normal next week or whatever.
The wheel will spin. Yeah. Who knows? Stay tuned.
All right. Well, thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Andy. It was fun.
Many of us have herpes.